Welcome to the technical analysis segment with an extra special supplement at the end. We're going to take a look at the Gamestop chart and three important things that we've experienced today and what we're looking to happen next. We're going to talk about the technical problems that we're going to solve with technical analysis, and we're going to do it like pros, starting on GME. Those three things. Remember, well, here's price action. This is what it did today. We were at a high of 179.49 and a low of 167.80. What a lovely little range. Though it didn't feel lovely, I imagine for you, we lost our 236. We got a negative slope on the hourly time frame on two important moving averages, and we took a big drop down to our horizontal support level. Those aren't the specific three things, though the last one is very important. We came back down and test our horizontal support, a very, very important level. That was what we were looking to happen with price action so that people could get their orders. And it, although experienced a lot of pain for a lot of people, which we'll talk about again in a minute, that was what we talked about was very likely to happen with price action with respect to this harmonic that we have on the chart here, that being a bullish Gartley and this D point. Okay, so first point to talk about was we came back and we tested a significant horizontal support. The second point to talk about is that we are now looking for our reversal on price action because we know how to trade harmonics. Previously, this move here that took us into a broadening wedge, that was a reaction to first meeting this harmonic resistance. And now we're testing it and to see if it is a true harmonic equilibrium. Will price action bounce again? Will we find ourselves back in this broadening wedge? Will we then move on to the top side of this overall formation? Some people call this overall thing a wedge. It's not, it's a triangle. Will we reach the top side of that, the full extension of our Gartley, maybe even higher? That's what we're looking to that's what we're looking for to happen. That's two important things. And the third thing was the pain that people will have experienced when price action got here. I'll quickly jump back up to the bigger window where you can see my face more clearly, along with this notification of the GME max pain at 182.50. On Monday, we were around 190.00 and said, we'll probably come back here. And so for some people who didn't expect it, it was pain. For many people in chat, it was exactly what they were hoping for. And we got those tests of lower areas, and perhaps people got their entry. So there's the three things that we were looking at, we experienced today, and some of us were lucky enough to escape the last one, though all of us are subject to the whims of price action. That which we didn't look at very much, but I will quickly talk about on the hourly time frame, having mostly done the TA for today already. This bullish accumulation pattern, it's a wedge on the RSI. You can see it most clearly on the daily time frame. We've had 1, 2, and this is the third one. We broke out of it, went into the bullish control zone after a retest from having gone around the center line. We did that same thing again, and there we did it again, each time coming in and putting in our most recent highs of this formation. And so this move, we predicted that on slightly lower time frames, it would form a similar signature where it broke out of this formation and retested this area on the RSI. It's happening again. It's confluent with what we thought would happen on price action. And while it might not be to the top side, it does inspire confidence in our ability to read the charts. And on that note, and talking about abilities to read charts, we have the special technical analysis and supplement. Ta-da! Rocky outcrop. How about that for a treat?
Oh, thanks very much. It's really good to be here, man. That was excellent technical analysis that you just did. How do you top that? I don't think you need to. It was really cool. It's nice to be here and looking at your charts. Where's your mouse hiding? There we go. So what is it for me right now that I thought was kind of cool that you're pointing it out for people? And I like the here on the RSI, for instance, seeing that we're not in the bearish control zone. That was a big one. One of the other things that was a big one for me is, of course, this retest of this D point of the harmonic. We've been joking a lot recently. Rocky loves a Broadening wedge. Don't know where that came from. But to see this thing having done something with a Broadening wedge, I mean, I have to advocate for it now, don't I? So wasn't voluntary, but here I am. And Broadening wedges, yeah, they're apparently my thing, and we've done one. So wait, so and also just to kind of then to say then, well, at this point, this is that moment, right, where you're like, oh, the prices have moved. And oh, it's so scary and everything. And yeah, well, I mean, that's how things go, isn't it? And then you look from here upwards, then those price targets up above then are actually, much better price targets, right? As opposed to just kind of like holding on. So we have a few of them coming up here, just retesting at the broadening wedge idea. Whether or not that's lined up properly, I think it's kind of besides the point. Is where this gap would be as well. So we'd be retesting off that gap, maybe filling it in. That's right up here where we can see, obviously, you must have had some 618 or something in here in the charts because I recognize that. So that's another area for us. We also know that that's where our previous high was, and that if we were to do it quite quickly, I could probably draw on a wee dude on a diving board and call this some sort of that type of idea. Looking at that, so there's these little ideas around, and it brings us up towards the 200 point. And the 200 point is the top end of that of this consolidation pattern as it is, and this is the one that then you can just jump up the time frames to look at and see it kind of taking on a bigger and bigger aspect to the meaning of what's going on, which we were pointing out to before. I've seen you talking about this, right? So I'll just talk about what I've seen you talking about. This is one of the Tradespotting things. Shout out to Tradespotting, like and subscribe. Right? If you haven't done that, by the way, then check yourself. What are you doing? Right. So we've got this big old triangular shape on the chart, and looking up towards the top end and saying, well, if this represents a change of conditions, we're moving beyond it, is into like a bullish territory where it's like, right, this is it now, all eyes on this thing, we're actually getting the movement, as opposed to the last many months of what is represented consolidation within a range. Then you're going to, then that's great, right? That's something to point out that here we are. And another little thing that I thought I would point out, well, actually, since we're up here, is you've got the fib time zones in the background that you've got up here, showing us that in towards the end of this apex here, where we're coming up to now, something's going to happen. And the other thing I suppose I would point out, something else that I've seen on the Tradespotting channel, Tradespotters, hit like Tradespotters. Was you talking about how you can see that we're just above the parabolic SAR, right? And that lines up with this kind of notion of there being a channel down towards the lower side, and that if we see price action staying within the bounds of this, then okie dokie, that's another area to test down here. Maybe a higher low comes in. Tomorrow's price action might not start off with like rip roaring positivity. What? Monday, sorry, tomorrow. Ha! Can't wait for Monday, am I right? Hit like if you can't wait for Monday. So yeah, Monday's price action. And that, nice whole weekend to think about it. Right, great, fantastic. So wouldn't it be lovely then instead if there was that positivity, we saw rip roaring success. But if we do need to retest down here, you're looking at that 168, yada yada. But moving outside of this area, we're above the parabolic SAR as it stands. That's a nice place to be at on this small term time frame, looking for things to turn around. And I suppose what you could do to finish this off, I just kind of borrow this Fibonacci retrace that you've got on the charts here. Hope you don't mind. I think maybe you've hit the lock button on it. Is that what just happened there? No, perfect, right? So pop this down here to measure this out. Then we can see that above 170 itself is going to be a little bit of fake out territory in this region, but above 173 we're aiming to 185. 185 coming up here is filling in this gap, in at 180. So then 185 is like the next kind of pivot point for us, taking out the areas that you start to be drawn in your diving board doodad.
Draw the guy.
So
about the Fibonacci.
So if we were to see this rise towards the top side, you could draw your guy in up here. This sensitivity of this mouse is different. So we've got a different look on him. A bit more quagmire this time. But let's give him a big old smiley face anyway. And we'll pop him on a diving board here and go way. So you can see that this diving board would move around. And if you came back up towards the top side, while you're down here, of course, you're like holding your breath. You're looking to get up the way and that. But up here, this is where the water level is, and this comes in at around about the 886 Fibonacci. So I'm gonna have to make sure I can just see that this is lined up with where I want it to be. That's a 786 up there. Okay, the 886 up here actually would be taking out that territory in the clear. You'd be above the water already at that point. So this is kind of interesting one. And on the even smaller time frames, I was saying that this is where you could start to be thinking about drawing in your dude is when you're getting to these sorts of points and taking that out. So recoveries up towards this direction are key, and that's why we've got the 185 area as being very important. And that also represents, as you can see here, a retest of what was that formerly that Broadening wedge and the stuff we were chatting about already. So that's cool. If that can happen soon, brilliant. Then, of course, we're living through the experience that leads up to that point, and that's it.
Wow, what a treat. We are lucky here at Tradespotters. Tradespotters. Thank you very much for joining me for that GME Technical Analysis. Shall we take a look at AMC? Yes, we shall. Yes. Is the answer. Yes. Who's behind you? So 36, spot 60.
Look here, can I interrupt?
Yes.
I was telling the chat earlier on about how there's a wee inverted head and shoulders up there. If you think about 44 down to 40 as where that head and shoulders would be at, and then the range there of $4 at 40 to 44, then you can see that coming down to 36 once you cross over that 40 line is where you would be looking to. And those are both 10% moves that have happened, and that's the general sort of elasticity that you have on this one right now. So we've got a similar mentality in the sense to GME, in the sense that we could lay out numerous reasons as to why we've come here, and that of course then at this stage would we be looking for a turnaround in the prices or not? And to say that we've kind of done a good job's work in terms of the to get here, brilliant. That's that completed. Now phase 2 is to then move on after this and not taking out those lows down below that 36 great area to be at. And then if we look down below, can we see if there's some hidden bullish divergence? And then I'll hand it back over.
Excellent. So that's great. I mean, it makes my life a lot easier. He did it all from the 15-minute time frame too. So he did. There's the measured move with this head and shoulders coming at the top of this mini trend. Here's this horizontal level, which has been previously support, slightly higher than our previous low. It's this C point on a harmonic, which itself is bearish, but does have higher targets within it. And you can see that we're perhaps in a slightly bigger formation than these little ones we've drawn on, with these upward sloping demand and supply lines straddling the most recent highs and lows as you see them here. And as Rocky says, let's turn on those indicators and see what price action has been saying. Well, you have had an upturn on your RSI as price action has continued lower here. There is something to be said about that, yet we have to break significant levels on the horizontals before you get there. We've got a positive sign on the MACD, and we're about to see perhaps a positive sign on Rocky Outcrops DMI. Having the man here himself, it would be the apt time to ask him about these things and get extra information off him, wouldn't it? But you get that one-to-one with him on his Discord by his Patreon, so you should just go there, and I can speak to him here and get full access to all these bits of information. You also broke below your 200 period simple moving average, and your 50 period followed you behind. It does leave you with a lot of targets to the top side. You just need to confirm that you'd put in something bullish down here before you'd look to say that was a terminal candle or an entry on a candlestick pattern. But we could then draw on this Fibonacci, ignore the where we've come from ones, talk about this most recent high, pull in this most recent low and say, and get your 236, so the bottom side of this small gap on the 15-minute time frame in at around 37.74. I would very much expect a test of that area and your RSI to test at least at the center line, if not push higher and then fail before it goes on, and then some sort of accumulation. I don't expect it to move straight from here and break that area without at least a little pause. You've got your 50 period moving average moving into that area. You've got your RSI center line above you. You've got plenty of reasons for this MACD cross to fail, and this is not yet a positive sign here on the DMI. You're only on the 50-minute time frame, and you can't take all that much from those indicators on any indicator in the world. And that you could go a 30-minute and say, is that cross on the MACD happened yet? No, and you're so far below your 200 period moving average that you can't really say that you'd move to it on a positive cross at this stage. Though if you did, that would be filling this gap. Top side of that gap's at 38.93. doing that's very positive, but none of that means anything. You're looking up.
It does mean stuff. No, it does. Don't say that. Don't say that it doesn't mean anything. No, because you didn't say a couple of things that it meant there. Like you're on the 15-minute time frame a second ago, right? And there's that 200 period cross on the 50, and you're pointing this out right at the area where there's the gap. And if you were to go up there and test that, as you would possibly expect afterwards, then maybe at that point you might actually see a resurgence, a retest down the way even afterwards, and what could potentially be a nice cross on the 15-minute time frame to lead to trend in action, but which is still got some of the sort of the bearishness that might be here, like kind of bleeding off the way, having had a change of conditions as you see on the RSI. So like, this is, and then it would be coming back up and trying to test at these significant levels again is a job's work to do ahead of us, but it builds confidence along the way because you're still in a position of strength on the daily time frame.
Okay, so you can probably tell which one of us is more fond of AMC, but yeah, we said the same. We essentially said the same thing there, right? Because
not over yet.
We essentially said the same thing there because I was just saying that doesn't mean anything yet. We need to do things to the top side. I'm sure Rocky would agree. You're looking at 41, 44, and then you're looking at 44, and then you can say price action is turned around. You're aiming for the top. At this point, it wasn't much of even a reaction. Percentage wise it was, but in terms of structure on your chart, not really. You did meet your downward sloping demand line of this potential channel that you've already broken to the lower side of. I don't put much faith in that. I'm not the world's biggest fan, but I'd understand, it's good, right? It's good. It is good. Rocky's right. It is positive. And if it does do the things I talked about and that he talked about, then that is very significant. And on the way to the top side, I'd like to see it. We've not really covered a lot of the indicators, and we've not spent too much time looking at Fibonacci.
When you say on the way to the top side there, you're not being clear. It's like the thesis and why I'm saying it's not over yet in terms of this one is that while I remain bullish on this, and of course from the sort of the macro dynamic play, the target at the minute oh no, that's the wrong one. The target at the minute with the question with this thing is, are we going to go up to this D point, right? And is this over yet? This idea. And it's like, well, it's not at all, despite the fact that we've gone, up and down, and there's all these reasons that we can say perfectly well that we can get there for.
It's 100% increase.
How about just the anticipation of going up and filling in that gap at $44 there, and it's always about going up to the gap. Okay, filled it in. Fine, right now. Then afterwards, let's see what happens, and we've gone in for a higher low. And it's like, okay, we don't need. We can be from this position able to be perfectly happy with what's happened so far. So
yeah, I like it. I like its enthusiasm. I like that. I like the energy he puts in it. No, cancel. Don't leave site. Ha, see, even TradingView isn't happy at the minute. But you're right. It's 100% move on the cards. It's AMC. It's not all that different from GME for many reasons, not least the market participants. That's why we cover both of them here as yourself. So thanks so much. That was excellent to have Rocky here. Wow, what a treat.
Thanks. It's cool.
That's both of us. It is. Hey, thanks everybody. This is going to be also a clip as part of a live stream, which will be on later tonight on Tradespotting and the Spoon Slayers with Rocky Outcrop and the Outcropticians. So hopefully we're all watching that together now, and if not, and it's a separate clip, then thanks. Please hit the like button.
High five. Well done.
High five.
Next
Great.
one.
I love it. I love doing shows with Rocky. I love you guys. Thanks.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Definitely like and subscribe. Thanks.